On this episode of the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast, I'm going to talk about the 7 things that you need to stop doing in your business for more growth and success. Hey mompreneurs, welcome back to another episode of the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast, where we talk about all things motherhood and business minus the perfectionism. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. I am excited to talk to you. Since the last episode, I went to the PodFest conference that was held in Orlando. Thank you so much to Buzzsprout, my podcast streaming service, that invited me out. I found it an invaluable experience. It was wonderful, and I was able to connect with some people, and I hope that I will be bringing you some of the information and interviews with people that I connected with to you on this podcast in the near future. So I look forward to that, and I think at least 2 episodes, if not more, I could just give you, some of the information that I learned, not only about podcasting, but just, it was an event full of entrepreneurs. So it was wonderful to be able to connect with so many other like-minded entrepreneurs who were there to connect and learn and share their ideas and what they've learned and to really help each other grow. So it was a fantastic event that I look forward to going to again in the future. So thank you again to Buzzsprout for inviting me out to that event. So on this week's episode, I'm going to share with you 7 things that I've learned in my business that you need to stop doing for more growth and success. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you a little tip, extra bonus, and I think I'm going to start adding this to the episodes that are just me, kind of talking to you and sharing my experience and giving you some insight on things to help your business and your mindset and just balancing motherhood and business. But stay tuned to the end of this podcast episode for a little extra challenge that I'm going to give you that's only going to take you 6 minutes, but it really may transform everything for you. So stay tuned to the end for that. So let's get down to business with the 7 things that you need to stop doing in your business for more growth. So number 1, I think, is a big one, and I've probably done all of these things, and I continue to have to work on them. And so that is number 1, stop doing the hard things the hard way. So a great example of this is where we live. We have a Costco that takes like 40 minutes to drive to, and my daughters have a particular chocolate milk that they love from Costco. I can't get it anywhere else, and I would have to drive 40 minutes there, shop, park, craziness, and then drive all the way home. And one day I was griping about having to go to Costco on a weekend when I already felt like I didn't have a lot of time. And my oldest daughter was like, "Mom, why don't you just order it on Instacart?" And I resisted and I resisted and I resisted. And one week I finally just kind of surrendered and was like, forget it, I'll do it. I placed my order it got home to my house, I was able to do many more things. Years later, I've used Instacart many times, loved it during the pandemic. I didn't like the sense that I was going to die if I went to the grocery store. So, which I don't think anybody liked during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. So I have since saved tens, it's over 40 hours in the years that I've used it. But it was the hard way, but it was the way I'd always done it. And I was so resistant to changing that or even thinking that something could be easy. And it is science that we have a cognitive bias towards thinking that something is more complicated or that quote unquote the hard way is better. So if there is something that's really not easy for you in your business, whatever that is, and I have some of those points myself, think about considering finding an alternative way to do the task that you need to be done, because if you're resisting it, it's not easy, it doesn't flow, and it doesn't bring you joy. That is probably something you should not be doing in your business. So that is probably the biggest takeaway. If you could take away anything from this podcast episode, it would probably be that number one thing. But I hope you keep listening. Number 2, I highly suggest, and I am totally guilty of this at times, and I think we all are, but stop doing things in your business that don't have a focus. And I am trying to be more consistent and do better social media. And at some point, I'm just going to have somebody else do that for me, but I'm not there yet. But the number 2 thing is, I have a content calendar that somebody gave me, and at the top of it, it gives you a focus for the entire month about what you want to promote. And that's exactly what you should be doing with everything that you do in your business. You should start with the end in mind. And it was a great reminder to me to be focused in planning my time and planning what I'm working on, because anything that you give no focus to, or you don't put any time limit on, you'll take whatever time you have and you'll just wander. You'll just be like driving around the neighborhood without anywhere to go, without a plan, without a map. That is essentially doing things without focus, throwing whatever is going to stick to the wall. So that is the number 2 thing that you need to stop doing in your business. And I think anybody at any level in their business needs to remind themselves of that. Do things with purpose. Do things that your future self is going to thank you for. So number 3, it's also something that's very difficult, but we all have to strive for it, is stop comparing yourself to other people who are not you, because anything else is just unfair to you. No one else has your experience. Nobody is in your situation in life. Nobody has your exact skill set. Nobody has your dreams. So just stop comparing yourself. And it's so true. I remember in a podcast interview where somebody who had a business reminded me that unfortunately on social media platforms like Instagram, you'll start receiving all of these reminders in the algorithm of other people who do the same thing that you do. And you can easily fall into this trap where you don't feel like you're where they are, or they're doing it better than you, and you may wish you were doing what they're doing. Who knows? But it's really important to remember not to compare ourselves, and that, if there is something that someone else is doing that you wish you were, use it as motivation. Absolutely, congratulate them if they receive some kind of accolade that you wish you would have received, or whatever it is, because once you lift somebody else up, you are essentially lifting yourself up. So remember that. And then I would also like to give you a reminder that when it comes to social media, I used to really dislike social media, especially Instagram. I don't spend much time on Facebook. But somebody really opened my eyes to, if you don't like social media, change who you are following. Change your circle of people. If you think it's negative, use the unfollow button, and make sure that you're seeking out the people who are sharing the messages that you want to hear. And once I started doing that for myself on my own social media accounts, it really changed how I felt about social media, and it really changed the comparison game, which can really drag you down and hold you back. So that is something that can be helpful for you when it comes to that. So number 4, thing that you need to stop doing in your business is stop hiding and not selling your offers. And I'm someone who hasn't put a lot of offers together, and I'm working on that. I'm definitely trying to improve that. Got my new website together so I can start doing more offers. But I think, too, it's just learning how to put yourself out there. And you are the face of your business. You can't hide behind your business. So you have to work on putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you'll get more used to it. But definitely work on doing lives and doing videos and things like that, so you can become that confident authority figure that you need to be in your business to help it grow and increase your sales and just have fun. So don't let that fear hold you back. Because as I tell all the moms that I talk to who aren't confident, just remember that you're probably not only confident, you're probably qualified, you're probably overqualified. So really remember that to try and help you increase your confidence. All right, so we've done 1 through 4. I'm going to take a drink real quick. So let's talk about number 5, which I think all moms are probably guilty of this. It's probably one of the things that mompreneurs struggle with the most across the board in our business is abandoning ourselves. But I don't think that we recognize the way in which we do abandon ourselves. We're so busy taking care of other people and trying to do all of the things that we really do forget about ourselves. And it's really funny because self-care is now a very popular word that people like to use, but for the longest time, self-care was kind of associated with girls' night out. Go out with your girlfriends, go out drinking, have fun, woohoo. And I felt really left out of that because that's not my thing. I mean, I have friends. I believe in quality, not quantity when it comes to friends. But I don't know, going out drinking, like all my friends don't even like to drink. So I don't know. That whole image, that whole thing, I was just like, I guess I don't know how to care for myself. But yeah, and like this whole thing, like go get a massage. I don't know. I'm just not like people I don't know touching me. Oh, no thanks. So I had to learn what was self-care for me and what was not any longer abandoning myself. And a couple of very common things that women do in their businesses to abandon themselves is not having very strong boundaries. So every time that you don't speak up, you don't talk about what it is that you need or what your boundaries are, or you haven't made any boundaries, that resentment builds up. And you really do abandon yourself in those moments. And that leads to just a very bad mental situation. You don't want to be there. So for me, a very popular form of self-abandonment was not getting enough sleep. And I talked about this in the first episode where I was creating my new schedule, and my husband was like, well, first thing you need to do is build it around 8 hours of sleep. And to me, that was mind-blowing. It literally was. I never even thought about that. And I have stuck to it pretty well for the beginning of the year. Usually at this point, if you're going to give up a habit, you already have. So I'm pretty confident I'm going to stick with it, because getting enough sleep has allowed me to be more focused and more quote-unquote productive, and do more to move the needle than really I think I have done in a long time. So simply getting enough sleep can be a really great way to take care of yourself and to stop abandoning yourself. Now, if you have little ones, go back to number 3. Don't compare yourself to those who have older children and who are able to get more sleep. There's definitely a period of time where sometimes you're just not able to get a lot of sleep. For the first 6 years of both of my daughters' lives, I got very little sleep. They were just not great sleepers, and that's just who they are. And I consistently compared myself to other parents who had kids who were great sleepers. It was horrible. And I was quite resentful of that. But you know what? It just is what it is. And that's who they are. And I was glad that I was able to be there with them and not have to work a day job for the most of their years growing up. So I was able to do what I could. And it wasn't horrible. I wish I would have gotten more sleep, but that's okay. We'll move on. So number 6 is stop beating yourself up, especially if you haven't met a goal that you set. And a lot of people have a hard time with this, especially if you're an overachiever and you've been a people pleaser, and hopefully you will do some work around the codependency associated with that. But if you grew up in a very competitive environment as a child, or you really got your sense of validation from getting the A or checking all the boxes or whatever it is, you can have a really hard time with that. But I really encourage you to make not only realistic goals, but don't beat yourself up for not doing them, but just use it as an opportunity to figure out how you may be able to do things differently in the future to, more readily reach your goals that you set. So number 7, on my list of 7 things that you need to stop doing in your business for more growth and success is stop trying to do too many things at once. And I think I just heard the collective sigh. I know I just sighed because this is very true of myself. I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and there are times that I just try to do too much at once, and I've tried to be better at it. I just have waiting lists. I literally have things that are in queue for me to get to when I have time, and I'm trying to work on fitting those into my calendar and blocking time for them. But really, I have to be realistic with what I expect myself to do and just be okay with getting done what's on my calendar. And more work doesn't necessarily mean more success. It doesn't work that way. You don't get extra stars. So it's really important that you make sure you include time for yourself, rest, family, and then those are when you have things more aligned with the right amount of rest, the right amount of family time, the right amount of time for yourself, and doing everything else you need to do, you allow for more creativity and more energy and more joy in your business. And then that's ultimately going to lead to more success. It's going to lead to you being able to be the leader in your business that you need to be. So those are my top 7 things that you need to stop doing in your business for more growth and success. And I'll do a little rundown. Number 1, stop doing things the hard way. Number 2, stop doing things without focus. Number 3, stop comparing yourself to others. Number 4, hiding behind your business and not selling your offers, and especially not selling your offers enough. I think that that's particularly, you can't put things out there once and then expect everybody to get it. You have to continually talk about your offers. So number 5, stop abandoning yourself. Number 6, stop beating yourself up, especially for not reaching your goals. And number 7, stop trying to do too many things at once. So if there are any things on those lists, that list that you think that I missed, please let me know. If there are any of those things that you particularly find as a challenge, I'd love to know that as well. You can send me a message on Instagram, or you can always send me an email at angela@mombusinesscoach.com. And while I'm there, I can plug my new website. Go check it out. It's at mombusinesscoach.com, and there's all kinds of information about me. You can check out podcast episodes. You also have a really awesome link to Apple Podcasts where you can leave the show a review, which is a great time to plug it. I would so appreciate it if you could go to Apple Podcasts if you're enjoying the show and leave an honest review and let me know if any episode has particularly influenced you. I get messages, but it does really help the show, and it helps other people find the podcast if you leave a review. So I'd appreciate that so much. And if you would like for me to give you a shout out, just send me a DM and I would be happy to do that. So I would appreciate that so much. And then it is totally free to subscribe to the show, and then also share it with are you a member of a group of mompreneurs or entrepreneurs? Share the link up in the little hamburger menu wherever you listen to the podcast. All right, so now it is time to share my little tip or challenge that you can apply in 6 minutes, totally free, that I think is a really interesting challenge that I've just recently started implementing myself. So I have been interested in the impacts of journaling and what that can kind of open up for you in your business and in your mindset and your personal development. But I think I've been a little resistant just because probably needs a little bit of structure and it seems a little intimidating, and I don't doubt the value of it, but I'm just not sure that it's something that I'm ready to adopt. So I was listening to a podcast episode that discussed free writing and doing it only for 6 minutes. So I'm like, okay, free writing, I get to actually create the prompt and it's 6 minutes. I think that sounds like something that's doable for me. So, I mean, I don't know how many times over the years, I used to be better at it when I was younger, had more time. But, you get the journal and you're like, this is the year I'm going to do it. And then you do a couple of pages and the rest of the year, 360 days later, the pages are blank. So this is something you don't even have to do every day, but I think could quickly become a habit just because you begin to see value and begin to just really feel the potential of kind of understanding your subconscious and where you're at in your mindset. So here is the challenge for you. anytime that you have an opportunity and you have 6 minutes, you can take a pen and paper. I wouldn't do this on a computer or phone or something like that. I don't think that it would have the same value. I think there's something really magical that happens between pen and paper. And just taking the opportunity to create a prompt from your day, good or bad, like if you are feeling really frustrated or overwhelmed or whatnot, prompting yourself and turning that into a question like, what is going on in my life today? Or why am I feeling so frustrated? Or why am I upset? And what you'll find is that the brain has this involuntary response when it's asked a question. It cannot help but formulate an answer. And you can test this out with anybody. You can ask them a question and they just can't even help themselves to give you an answer. So your brain, when you're asking yourself a question, has the same response. And in the first couple of minutes, it may be something that is very structured and predictable, but then it kind of takes this turn where it's more subconscious and you begin to have a more free writing experience. And you can really get to the heart of where you are and why you're thinking the way you are. And it's a really interesting exercise that I've done. And I think I'm going to continue to do and remind myself to try to incorporate it when I can. So totally free. All you need is 6 minutes and a pen and a piece of paper and kind of the ability to create a prompt, which is created from your mindset that day. It doesn't have to be, well, I'm grateful for this. You can start it out however you would like. And on a different podcast, I heard a really great prompt, especially when you're frustrated, is to ask yourself how you could make the situation easy. Like, how could that moment, that problem be made easier? And I think that that is a really interesting prompt too, one that could bring up a wealth of limiting beliefs and kind of experiences and emotions that maybe you never even thought were kind of ruling your decision and your thoughts and your mindset. So I think that that is a super helpful tip. So if you implement that at all and you find any benefit, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. So send me a message on Instagram, or you can email me at angela@mombusinesscoach.com. I'd love to hear about it. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. I have an amazing interview to share with you next week with the wonderful and lovely Sarah Greener, who is a business and success coach. She's amazing. The conversation was fire. So I can't wait to share that with you soon. And other than that, please go check out my new website. I would love to hear too. Is it helpful? Do you like all the information in one place? I think it was a little tough for people to see everything and see where all the podcasts were and kind of have a home for all of that information. So I have some freebies, so go check those out. Get on my email list. I'm talking about those offers. I am taking my own advice, so check those out. There is a checklist for working at home. There is a list of 10 tips that nobody ever probably told you about becoming a successful mompreneur. And it comes with a workbook of prompts and planner pages that are very helpful with you kind of analyzing your time, which I think is super, super important and a must do for any mom who has a business. You have to know where your time is going. And then also there is a guide to starting or restarting your business or side hustle. And in that is a checklist of all of the things that you need to think about, from naming your business to doing trademark checks to see if anybody else has a name that's similar or the same, on the USPTO National Registry and setting up social media accounts. There are ways to check all of those social media accounts at once. You don't have to log into Facebook individually and do different things like that. Setting up a website and some of the apps that I use to help schedule appointments and things like that. So it's a very helpful guide, and you can find all of those over at my website, mombusinesscoach.com. And that's going to do it for me this week. I hope you found this episode helpful. I would love to hear about it if you did. I sit behind a mic and create content, and I never know unless somebody reaches out whether it's resonating with you. So it means so much to get some feedback. So thank you so much for listening this week. I can't wait to bring you an interview with a success in business coach next week with Sarah Greener. The conversation was fire. She's amazing. And I can't wait to publish that episode for you the week of Valentine's Day. So stay tuned for that. So until next time, this is Angela Meshuli, your host of the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast. I will talk to you next week. Bye.